And I remember praying for her, and it wasn't even like the prayer was wrong or anything of that nature. I believe that God obviously could use it.
Oh, yeah.
But it was my heart posture was performative.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving that scenario and just feeling awful.
Hey everyone, it's Abdi Murray again with another Coulda, Shoulda, Woulda. We're here in Vancouver in the beautiful mountains with Apologetics Canada, the team with Apologetics Canada, which is a great ministry here up in Canada, hence the name, where they do a lot of great work defending the faith and teaching Christians how to defend the faith as well. And I'm here with the team of Apologetics Canada asking them various questions on when they coulda, shoulda, or woulda done something differently in evangelistic or apologetics encounters with various people. So with me is Troy, also with Apologetics Canada. He's the creative director. So real quick, tell us what you do for Apologetics Canada.
Okay. My name's Troy, and I'm the creative director for Apologetics Canada. I'm also the podcast host. So in a lot of ways, you're going to hear me on the podcast if you listen to the AC podcast at all. And I'm also the one who edits it, chops it up, and sends it out to the world. And then I am the one hounding people on social media to interact and come chat with us.
Well, please do, friends, interact and chat with Apologetics Canada. Make Troy happy, man. By the way, dude, I got to say this, and I've been meaning to say this since I walked into the room early this morning. You got a voice for radio and a face for television. You got both going on. I have a face for television, for radio, maybe possibly a voice for this kind of stuff, but you got it all going on. So thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah.
So let's hear it. Give me an instance of when you were involved in an evangelistic or apologetics encounter or some kind of conversation on spirituality where you could have, should have, or would have done something differently.
Yeah. Well, apart from doing creative directing with Apologetics Canada, I'm also a recording artist by the name of Scribe Music. Mm-hmm. And so throughout Canada, I've got to do some things in the States. I'll do concerts, speak at youth conferences, adult conferences. Really doesn't matter. It's more or less usually in the Christian context. Sometimes I could be, get booked to do a show in a bar or a club, but they still know that my music is Christ-centered and they're okay with it.
Yeah. Good for you, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. So sometimes the scenarios that I get put into, a lot of people are not used to a concert setting. Maybe this is the first time they've done an event or something of that nature. But I've always tried to posture myself as not just someone who's coming in, but also a servant in the spaces that I'm in. So I'll try and hang out for as long as I can, hold conversations and different things like that. And one of the instances that I can think of pretty clearly, I was in the States at the time, and it was a pretty big event, and it was just me and my wife and my daughter. It was just our daughter at the time. I was at this event and super excited to be there. And I had this opportunity to go into the town, and they were driving us around, wanting us to see the town and go and get some food. And it was pretty early on in my career. And I really wrestled with this idea of who am I supposed to be as this artist, right? Like I looked up to these artists like Lecrae and the Triplets and all these people at Reach Records. I wanted to be, I wanted to honor my platform in the ways that I had seen them doing it, their effectiveness for the gospel.
Yeah.
And so when I was starting to get these opportunities, I was still trying to figure out who is Troy, who is Scribe Music, and what is the Lord asking of him? Yeah. And I remember going into a restaurant one time, and there was this lady who, she had broken her leg, and she seemed like really, really down and out. And I remember being in line, and we were getting our food, and I just felt in this moment, I'm like, I feel like I gotta do something. I feel like they're expecting me to do something because I'm this person. And very uncomfortably, I was like, hey, can I pray for you? And it wasn't the fact that I asked to pray for her. It was just that my mindset had everything to do with me feeling like I was supposed to, that they're expecting me to pray. Yeah. They were looking at me like, whoa, what's he gonna do? And I remember praying for her, and it wasn't even like the prayer was wrong or anything of that nature. I believe that God obviously could use it.
Oh yeah.
But it was my heart posture was performative.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving that scenario and just feeling awful, but not really having much of a way where I could feel like I could reconcile that. Yeah. Like, how do I go back to a person and say, hey, I didn't pray for you genuinely. Yeah. So if something doesn't work, you know what I mean? Like, obviously that's not the case, but I remember feeling that. And then the people that had been there with me, they were like, this seems a little bit not out of character, like I don't pray for people, but they've been with me, and they saw that I was uncomfortable, and I really wish that at that point that I would have been comfortable in my own skin earlier on as an artist, as someone who's going around trying to share the gospel, wanting my zeal to become effective and not just something that drew people to me. I would say.
Yeah, you know, Troy, as you say that, I'm just thinking to myself about times. And I can't think of a specific instance. Well, I can think of one actually, where it wasn't in an evangelistic encounter. It was just my heart posture in writing something. I was writing something to our supporters. This is years ago. And I was writing something talking about what God was doing through our ministry. But a friend who is not always a rose pinner, which is a good thing, by the way. If you have any friends who don't just pin roses, you have to earn the compliment from them.
That's right.
Get people like that around you.
Yes.
Because this kind of stuff, it's very easy to start believing, how your own press, as it were.
That's right.
I wrote something about what God had been doing through our ministry, and he wrote something back to me. He says, I get your newsletter, and this seemed a lot about you. Even though I was couching in terms of what God had been doing. And I've never forgotten that. That was a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I still think about when I write something that's telling people what we're doing, how performative my letter was. And that wasn't in an evangelistic context, but that gets you thinking about times when you do it yourself. I do it myself, or whatever it is, where we want to be impressive, but we want to make him impressive. The whole goal is to make the Lord impressive. And if he uses us to do that, praise God. But if we start using him to make us impressive, then maybe that's not such a great thing as well. So it's a funny thing because, what I like about your story, Troy, is that you didn't have to tell that story to anybody. That's between you and God. And that woman would never doesn't know.
As far as I know.
Your heart posture. And none of us would know your heart posture. But I think this is really helpful for us because you've given us a good reason to orient our hearts in a way that says, I need to make sure that when I have these encounters, it's not about being intellectually impressive or poetically impressive or making sure somebody does something on my social media that says, I heard this conversation Troy had with us and such. And man, who cares? Yeah. Who cares? Was the Lord glorified in that moment? So, man, I want to say thanks for your vulnerability. That was really something. And I think all of us can learn from it. You just, like you said, you called to mind something I wasn't even thinking of. So appreciate it, brother. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, friends. Coulda, shoulda, woulda with Troy from Apologetics Canada. Scribe Music.
That's right.
Scribe Music as well. Apologetics Canada and Scribe Music.